Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into Baha'u'llah's incredibly profound 19th century mystical text, The Seven Valleys and the Four Valleys. We're going to take you on an epic, highly visual expedition of the human soul. This text is literally a masterclass in spiritual progression, and we're going to break down its complex, beautiful metaphors into a clear roadmap.
We're going to kick things off with this incredibly powerful question straight from the text. Dost thou reckon thyself only a puny form when within thee the universe is folded? I mean, wow. It instantly challenges us, doesn't it? It's asking us to look inward and wake up to the massive, existential potential hidden within our very own being. We so often walk around viewing ourselves as small or insignificant, but this text argues that the entire cosmos, the absolute depths of reality, are actually folded up right inside of you.
So let's jump right into section 1, the call to journey.
What we're really looking at here is a mystical journey. It's undertaken by a traveler who is moving progressively through distinct spiritual valleys to reach ultimate truth. Think of it as a step-by-step evolution of your consciousness. But to truly grasp Baha'u'llah's poetic language, we have to first define our main character, the wayfarer. The text frequently compares this wayfarer to Majnun. Now, in ancient lore, Majnun is the quintessential mad lover. He's a guy who is so desperately seeking his beloved, Layli, that he completely loses all tether to normal society. The text actually tells this story of people finding Majnun literally sifting through the dust of the earth. When they ask him, what on earth he's doing, he says he's looking for Layli. They mock him. They say Layli is of pure spirit. Why are you looking in the dirt? And he replies that he seeks her everywhere, just hoping that somewhere, somehow, he might find her. That right there, that is the intense, almost irrational ardor required of our wayfarer on this journey. That brings us to section 2, seeking, loving, and knowing.
Okay, so these first 3 stages of our journey, search, love, and knowledge, these are the foundational steps where the ego first begins to really crack open. Let's look at how they flow. The journey kicks off in the Valley of Search. Here, the traveler has to ride the steed of patience. Without patience, the text warns us, the seeker gets nowhere. They have to cleanse their heart of just blindly imitating others and actively seek the beauty of the friend in every single face and every single land. Then, the journey takes a violently intense turn into the Valley of Love. Here, the wayfarer is completely dissolved in the fire of pain. Love in this valley isn't just a warm, fuzzy feeling, it's a blaze that literally burns the harvest of reason to ashes. The traveler becomes totally unaware of himself. He doesn't know doubt from certitude anymore, and deadly poison actually becomes a balm to him. It is a total, utter surrender. Now, if he survives the claws of the eagle of love, he arrives at the Valley of Knowledge. And it's here that doubt finally turns into certitude. The darkness of illusion gives way to a guiding light. The traveler actually starts to see profound wisdom in everything around him. He sees war as peace and justice in injustice, simply because he can now see the end in the beginning.
Once you're in that state, you gain a totally new perspective. There's this mind-blowing line. Split the atom's heart, and lo, within it thou wilt find a sun. In this valley of knowledge, the wayfarer starts seeing the macro in the micro. You begin discovering profound divine wisdom hidden within the absolute smallest, seemingly most insignificant particles of creation. You don't just find a drop in the ocean, you behold the secrets of the entire sea inside a single drop. Moving right along to section 3, unity, contentment, and wonderment. The crucial point to remember is that once we achieve this deep, paradigm-shifting knowledge, we don't just stop and set up camp. We move into higher, much more ethereal planes of perception. To explain the first of these, the Valley of Unity, Baha'u'llah uses a fascinating metaphor. He contrasts human perspective, which he likens to a colored globe, against the singular divine sun. Just imagine a brilliant light shining through a yellow glass globe. The rays appear yellow, right? Shine it through a red globe, they appear red. The variations are coming from the globes, not the light itself. Our limited, ego-driven vision creates the illusion of difference and conflict, but in the Valley of Unity, the traveler pierces through these veils of plurality. They look at the red and yellow globes and realize, hey, they are all just catching the exact same singular, brilliant rays of the divine sun. Moving beyond that unity, our traveler enters contentment. This phase is all about burning away the veils of want. The winds of divine contentment start blowing from the plane of the spirit, and suddenly, sorrow yields to joy. Anguish transforms into rapture. To an outside observer, these travelers might look like they are dwelling in the literal dust, but inwardly, they are throned in the absolute heights of mystic meaning. They don't want for anything because they see the beauty of the beloved in everything, even in the fire.
And then, arriving at the Valley of Wonderment, the text asks us to marvel at everyday mysteries to grasp the spiritual realm. Specifically, it asks, what is the dream world, where without eye, ear, hand, or tongue, a man puts all to use? Think about that for a second. You are fast asleep in a locked room, yet you find yourself walking around in a far-off city. Without using your physical eyes, you see, without a tongue, you speak. The text uses this everyday phenomenon to prove that there are infinite realities folded right within us. In this valley, the traveler is constantly tossed in the oceans of grandeur, just going from astonishment to astonishment at all the new creations they're perceiving.
Which leads us to Section 4, Poverty and Absolute Nothingness.
We've now reached the absolute climax of our spiritual expedition. This is the most absolute and final stage of the 7 valleys. This valley is defined simply as the dying from self and the living in God. Now hold on, it is vital to understand we are not talking about your bank account or material wealth here at all. True poverty in this context means being poor in the things of the created world, but incredibly rich in the things of God's world. It's entirely about stripping away the ego. The fire of the lover's heart kindles a blaze that burns away all veils, all wrappings, all personal opinions, until absolutely nothing remains but the divine presence. The traveler becomes a total blank slate, entirely effaced, living purely in the shadow of the ultimate reality.
Now, that brings us to the second part of the text, Section 5, 4 Paths of the Wayfarer. While the 7 valleys showed us this universal progression of the soul from search all the way to absolute nothingness, Baha'u'llah's text actually concludes with a distinct section called the 4 valleys. This section outlines different types of paths or archetypes that seekers can embody as they journey toward the divine. Some travelers might journey by exploring the self, which isn't rejected here at all, but rather seen as something to be purified in order to seek the intended one. Alternatively, they might travel through reason, and we don't just mean a feeble human brain, but the primal divine mind, where a searcher is lifted to the summit of glory and learns the true standard of knowledge. The third path is love, relying entirely on pure affection and absolute madness, where the travelers speak no words, but just gallop their chargers, seeing only the inner reality of the beloved. Finally, the fourth path is the apex of consciousness. This is a realm of utter self-effacement and absolute command, where the seeker reaches the true secret of divine guidance and immutable decree.
And finally, Section 6, the ultimate destination.
Because regardless of the specific path taken, whether you go through reason, love, or the exploration of the self, the destination always demands complete transformation and connection. This journey is never just about acquiring facts. It is about a fundamental reunion. The text beautifully reminds us, O son of Adam, seek fellowship with none until thou hast found me, and whenever thou shalt long for me, thou shalt find me close to thee. The seeker goes through all of it, the agony of search, the raging fire of love, the absolute astonishment of wonderment, only to realize that the beloved has actually always been incredibly close at hand, just waiting for the veils of the ego to simply be lifted.
To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a provocative thought to really chew on. Baha'u'llah has laid out this incredibly vast, intricate roadmap of the human spirit, from the patient search for truth straight into the fiery madness of love, through unity and all the way to absolute nothingness. So, if your life is a spiritual expedition, where exactly are you right now? Which valley are you traveling through today? Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the 7 valleys and the 4 valleys. Keep seeking, keep wondering, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.